everyone, it is I, your hostess with the mostest, Kim C, and this is my one-woman Stephen King podcast, The Year of Underrated Stephen King. Thank you all for joining me today as we discuss all things pertaining to the Long Walk film just released in theaters, directed by Francis Lawrence with screenplay by J.T. Molnar. Well, everybody, I attended the film on a Thursday evening, yesterday evening to be exact, and wow, lots to unpack, lots to discuss. It's been about 24 hours since I watched the film, let everything sit in the simmer pot overnight. I, of course, awoke in the middle of the night. I had a 3 to 4 a.m. tossing and turning session because I was thinking about the film. I think it's a good thing, but I'm really happy to be unpacking all of my feelings with you all now. I really enjoyed it. I cried so much. More on the emotions here in just a minute. But overall, I was really excited to see the film, having read The Long Walk a while back. Usually, like I did with The Life of Chuck and many other Stephen King film adaptations, I always try to go in with a fresh read. I like to prioritize the text before I head into a film adaptation, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna be honest with all of you. I like the Long Walk novella, but I don't love the Long Walk novella like many a constant reader loves it. The Long Walk has some very passionate fans out there, and don't let me yuck your yum. I'm not gonna do that, but I just need you to know I don't love it as much as others. I like it. I appreciate the story. I think there is so much to admire and dissect, but for me, it is a hope-depleted nightmare hellscape, and the thought of reading it again makes me want to pull the toaster in my dudes. No foolin'. Therefore, the last time I read the novel was in 2020. What a wonderful year that was, where nothing really stressful occurred. And you know what else, dear listeners? At the same time, I was posting my Long Walk episode 17, so many moons ago. It was right around the time when George Floyd was murdered, and a bomb of civil unrest exploded all over the world. And there is little Kim C in the land of confusion reading about young men being slaughtered. So if you listen to episode 17, I have not listened to it in a while, but if you're venturing that way, please understand the audio is not great and the production is really shoddy because I was a little baby tadpole podcaster figuring this out on my own, so forgive me up front. But hopefully there is still some decent analytical content from the novella that still holds up well. I think it might be worth exploring if you give me a lot of grace for the areas that suck. Having said all that, boys and girls, I did not head into the Long Walk film fresh from the novella because A, I have zero desire to reread the text right now, and B, thankfully, my memory is pretty sharp with traumatic literature, and I remembered everything I needed to about the plot, so I felt good to go. More full transparency, because we're all friends here. Due to my already knowing how harrowing it was going to be, oh buddies, I was so tempted to have a bit of alcohol before heading into the movie, just so I wouldn't be sitting in my chair with a super tightly clenched jaw. I always attend one of those theaters that has a bar inside. It's just a coinkydink, and I was convinced a glass of wine would be perfect before I headed into the gauntlet of death. I'm very proud of myself. I did not have a drop, because I felt it was important that I bear witness to this film totally sober. Sometimes we have to see these difficult things and feel these difficult feelings in our right mind because we must. And this was one of those times. Therefore, no cocktails for Kim C, and the raw dogging terror commenced with me and my small blanket, because theaters in the desert are ice boxes, and I watched this film. You could hear a pin drop in the theater. It was dead quiet, and I cried. I cried so much, everyone. Oh man, how the tears were flowing. Thankfully, it wasn't a loud sob session. I pride myself on being a very quiet crier, but man, I had to keep wiping my eyes in multiple areas. And you know what? I was happy to have those tears. That's what art is for, that cathartic experience. I am always happy to shed them, and I was super happy to cry these tears specifically for this film, because the creative team and everyone attached to it, they got it really, really right, and I could feel it. So I let those tears flow. Now, let's talk about the novella a little bit before I tell you all the things I liked about the film. It'll go super quick, 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Hopefully all of you know about the Long Walk novella. Most constant readers do, because it was the face that launched 1,000 ships. It is the first. The Long Walk novella was penned by King around 1968, 1969, when he was still a student at the University of Maine, and all the men around King's age were heading in droves to the dark jungles of Vietnam for horrific and corrupt bureaucratic reasons. I believe vehemently Americans should have never been in Vietnam. More on that later. That's a huge can of worms. But that was the bed of soil that King was planted in for the creation of this story. And I think it's absolutely critical and crucial to understanding the power of the Long Walk. It's really important, and I feel it's what makes this title in the King canon pretty incredible. Because not only are the roots of this novel completely central to the American identity, the American experience, but it is a first written story that has made such an impact, stood the test of time. There are so many good things to say about it. Super duper quick, if you didn't know that The Long Walk was about Vietnam, well, let me tell you here now that the entire story is an allegory for Vietnam. I know we have some Gen Z and younger out there. In the 1960s, America sent its boys over, often forced into the dark jungle to die. And King, who would take on the pen name of Richard Bachman, told a story of bright young men who are also heading, most of them forced, into a mission, a competition in a dystopian America where the end of the road is death. Death is the only outcome for everyone involved. Not the sunniest of subjects, my dudes, but let that be our foundation as we head into this really terrific film adaptation. For this episode, I'm going to go down a numbered list of what I liked, what I really enjoyed, and then I may have 1 or 2 elements of critique, but I don't even know if it's criticism. I have 1 or 2 things I just want to throw out there because I want us to think about them. They are still positive? Anyway, we'll get there. We'll talk about it together. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Maybe a question or 2 will pop up in the midst of all of these. But the rest of this episode is going to be a celebration of what I really enjoyed about the film. And then we'll sign off. Please don't listen to this episode if you haven't seen the film yet. I'm going to reveal all the things. Spoilers everywhere, so don't do it. Don't let me ruin your day. Don't tinker around with this episode thinking that I won't ruin anything. I will. So please watch out. Buyer beware. Spoilers ahead. Okay, let's go. Let's get walking. My first category of celebration for the Long Walk film adaptation is number 1, casting. It's perfect, everybody. Wow, what a brilliant assortment of actors. I really think the casting is a thing of beauty. The casting directors, round of applause, 10 out of 10. I'd like to shake their hand. let's talk about some of the main players who absolutely stood out for me. I really think everybody in this film is pretty spectacular and very special, but the ones I have listed, wow, they really broke me in the best way. The first actor I would like to bring to your attention is Cooper Hoffman, who plays Ray Garrity, number 47. First of all, everybody, when I found out this information, I just lifted my hands to the heavens in celebration. If you didn't know, Cooper Hoffman is the son of the late, great actor Philip Seymour Hoffman. Can you believe? I love this so much. It fills me with joy that he is all grown up, he is in film, and he has the intensity of his father, he has presence, the timing, and he's still so young, he's still learning, he's only going to get better, and he nailed this role. This was such an exceptional performance. I'm so thrilled for him. He did such an amazing job. And let me tell you, the part where I first started crying in the film was right after that uphill death march when everyone starts being picked off and it is just chaos. Well, Peter McVries and Ray Garrity have this very sort of intense, heated argument before, during the hill climb. But what broke me, guys, what really got me, hopefully I can keep the tears back now as I recall the moment, is Ray Garrity looks at Peter, and there's just like death all over, just bullets flying and guys dropping off like flies. And in all of that, Ray Garrity, oh man, JT Molnar's script is delivering, but he says, "I'd like to apologize to you, Peter." And that got me, guys, because kindness, not in everyone, of course, but in a lot of people, kindness is so deeply planted in the heart that it hurts to hurt people. It hurts to be unkind. And Ray felt that pain. He was unkind to Peter, and he felt it, and he wanted to apologize. And there's just all this chaos and death, and Ray prioritizes that. And I'm struggling to hold back my tears talking about it now. That's how much of an impact it had. Because he says, "I wanted to apologize." Oh man. Okay, guys, let's move on. But anyway, that's where I started crying. And then it was a steady trail of tears after that. Let's talk about our second actor, David Johnson, who plays Peter McVries, number 23. Okay, if you guys haven't seen Alien Romulus, wow. So, I don't know if you're supposed to cry at an Alien film, but I did because of David Johnson's performance. I think he was absolutely incredible. He is such a powerful young actor, and I loved his performance so very much. He is very, very British, if you didn't know, and I loved his voice. I can't imagine how challenging it was to do an American accent while walking. I feel his voice reminded me of Nat King Cole, the singer. He's one of my favorite male vocalists of all time, but if you ever hear him speak, he has this lovely voice. And I couldn't help but think about Nat King Cole with David Johnson's voice. But what I will say, and this is just me being a little nitpicky, only because I'm an instructor and I want to encourage growth. But I can always spot a Brit who's struggling with the accent. I understand the American accent is very difficult for some Brits. Some Brits get it right away. They have all those rounded, soft vowels, and then in the States, it's harsher consonants. Everything is pronounced. Everything in the word is pronounced, and it's hard and harsher. Anyway, I think David is still learning. I think that it'll improve in time. But there were a few moments throughout the film with David's accent where I was like, where is he from? Is he from the South? Is he from up north? I got a little mixed, and then the British came out in certain areas. Bless him. He did amazing. His performance was electrifying. I'm just being a little bratty because I can always spot a Brit who's struggling. And he's still young. He's gonna do great. This is a small potato. Moving on. Number 3, Garrett Waring, who plays Stebbins, number 38. Stebbins is such a great character in the novella, especially toward the end when you find out a very critical aspect of his identity, of which he is directly related to the Major. Whoa, it's huge. It's such a huge reveal at the end of the novella. But anyway, Garrett Waring is ticking all the boxes for who Kim C is attracted to. I've always had a type, and as sad as I am to say it, any boy who looks like Hitler Youth, I'm gonna have a crush on you. It's terrible. He was very handsome and very blonde, and all the boys I've ever loved have looked like him. What can I say? I have a type, so leave me alone. Don't throw stones. He's super cute. But here's what I also love about Garrett Waring. He strikes me as a lovely, tender-hearted old soul. I saw him in a Comic-Con panel hosted by our KingCast hosts, Anthony Bresnikan and Eric Vespi. And Garrett, if you listen/watch the panel on YouTube, everybody, he is so warm. He strikes me as this very mature, lovely person who sees everything in the collective, which is what I love. There's a lot of empathy to him. I mean, granted, he could be full of crap and it's just a performance, but I don't know. Old souls usually know each other, not to get too woo-woo, but it's true. You could kind of spot one, like, you're good people. We'll just say that. You're good people, Garrett. I loved his performance. He's easy on the eyes. He looks good. And he also did a great job in the role. Number 4, Ben Wang is Hank Olsen, number 46, and my favorite Walker. I remember Hank Olsen from the novella because I loved the hell out of him. He is my favorite Walker because Hank, well, when Hank is killed in the novella, he's got his entrails hanging out. He has been disemboweled, bless him, and he still keeps going. And I know this is a horror element, but I see it as his tenacity and power. We also have another Bachman novel. I do believe it's The Running Man, where we have our protagonist with entrails. Apparently King enjoyed that at the time. It was a thing in early King writing and Bachman writing. But I just love Hank Olsen. Hank is the one that goes inward. He kind of is the first Walker. If I'm recalling the novella correctly, he is the first one to go inside and lose himself and go mad to an extent. But he gets silent and everyone's really concerned because he was the little chatterbox. And I think they picked such a great person. He was so funny and charming, and Hank Olsen was my favorite Walker. And this kid solidified why he's still my favorite Walker. What a wonderful performance. Number 5, Tut Nyot. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please forgive me. He plays Arthur Baker, number 6. I loved him so much. What a lovely, lovely performance. Super powerful, very understated. I don't feel he got as much spotlight as the other guys, but the spotlight he did give was just fantastic. I don't remember Arthur Baker from the novella as much as I remember the other guys, but I just really enjoyed his performance. He moved me a great deal. Lastly, the character I want to mention, Judy Greer, who plays Ray Garrity's mom. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this lady maybe got 2 to 4 minutes of screen time collectively, and she broke my heart. This lady is someone who I have seen throughout my life in rom-coms as the best friend. She's always like the cutesy, happy-go-lucky, nerdy, very twee, if you guys know that millennial term. She was always the cute little sidekick, and to see her in this moment was riveting. She was every mother who had hugged their child before sending them off to war, who clutched and grabbed onto their son because she knew it was most likely the last time she would see them alive. And that anguish, oh my God, everybody. What a powerhouse performance in such a short amount of time. She blew me away. To wrap up our casting section, I also want to commend the casting directors for choosing young men who all had a unique look to them. Even if we didn't get a lot of time spent with them, characters like Curly or Rank, everyone had unique features. They were all very ethnically diverse, and so they struck a chord. You remembered their face. Gary Barkovich, who was a little freak show, a lost soul among the walkers, the young writer. I mean, everybody had such a memorable look, and it was such a smart move, because there are so many characters in front of the audience's eyes at one time, so everybody had definitive features that you could grab onto, and that was so smart. I really loved it. Casting is exceptional in this film, friends. What a thing to celebrate. Number 2, set design and color palette. Oh my goodness. So a lot of you out there know that I am someone who loves to languish in sartorial splendor. I love clothes and I love costumes. And one element that stopped me in my tracks as I was watching The Long Walk is the staggering beauty at the beginning of the film when everyone is gathered. All the walkers are seated on this chunk of asphalt. Everybody's hanging out and getting to know each other and exchanging names. If you look at all of the costumes in the shots, they are all the same muted earth tones. Grays, browns, tans, cream-colored whites, but not even whites. Nothing is very striking or bold. They all have these washed out, tired colors. And it's stunning. Every single item of clothing on every single actor was carefully and meticulously chosen. I love well thought out design, and there is so much of that in this film, friends. It is awesome to behold because it creates the mood. It creates the audience's understanding of this world. These are all blue-collar people, if not downright impoverished. These are not shiny athletes in decorated trainers with arch support and athletic gear. No, these are people in Converse, which are not good for walking long distances. These are people with the clothes on their back because they have nothing else, and the film conveyed that so well. The costumes just give me life, guys. Every single flannel shirt and khaki shorts and ripped denim, it was perfect. It was stunning to look at. The set design also blew me away. I think that it was so great to be in a state of mystery as the audience. Granted, readers of the novella, we understand that King does not define the time period we're in. We know it's America, but it is very much a different dystopian America. There's nothing definitive that connects it to our specific American timeline. They never mention presidents. We don't get a direct year, so the audience is kind of free-floating, and that's intentional. That's the source material, and I really appreciate that they stayed close to that. More on J.T. Molnar's script here in a bit, but if we look at just the bucolic landscape of the cinematography, fields and forest and animals, and it's quiet and everyone's witnessing this atrocity through these small dead towns. It's like the life itself has been sucked out of this scenery. And even though it seems like a lovely spring day, it's just emptiness and nothingness as these boys are making their way through. Everything is abandoned. Everything is old and dilapidated. It's tremendous. It's so great. It works so well. Number 3, tone. Okay, everybody. What I super love about how this film was constructed is how they handled tone. The film opens, there is no music. The filter color, whatever filter it is they're using, it's not bright, shiny, sunny. Nothing electrifies the senses. Everything is muted, toned down. And we have that conversation with Ray Garrity and his mother. We see that heartbreaking goodbye. And then once they start walking, it's about 20-ish minutes, I want to say, before we get that first death. We have a couple close calls, maybe 1 or 2 moments, and then you actually see the first walker shot, and it is graphic, everybody. You see a face blown open. Cranial bones just explode out. It is very, very graphic and harrowing. But tonally, it screams to the audience, in a matter of speaking, you're in the jungle now. You are in the jungle now, baby. This is what you signed up for. This is death. This is violent, gruesome, unstoppable death. Get ready, because there's going to be more. And that's all in the tone. Even though we have some jovial, light-hearted exchanges at the beginning, tonally, from moment 1, this film is setting you up for sorrow. It is setting you up for heaviness and heartbreak. And tone is tricky to nail down, but they started off strong and they maintained it throughout. Tone, sometimes it can get too dark. I think this film does get a little too dark, but the friendships, the communication, the humanity and warmth, it pulls us back to a more hopeful tone. But overall, this entire film journey is about bearing witness to the suffering. Just like everybody else in the 60s on their actual televisions bore witness to the death of their sons and fathers and uncles. I don't know if you guys knew back then, but they had news cameras in the actual jungles. They were filming dead bodies every single night. People turned on their TV as they ate their TV dinners and saw dead Viet Cong and dead Americans and just horrific stuff. I mean, nothing has really changed since, but at the time it was pretty intense. But anyway, tone was triumphantly executed. Round of applause. I am so pleased. Number 4, script. All right, Mr. J.T. Molnar, I have observed that he has a lot of directorial credits for smaller productions. I applaud his script. I am also so thrilled, having seen this film, that I think he is, hopefully I don't jinx it, I've jinxed film things before, for example, my revival episode, but he is slotted to adapt The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, and you guys know how much I love my Trisha McFarland. You know how much I adore that novel so much, so I have all the confidence in the world it's going to be completely kick-ass, having watched this film and really admired his script choices. Firstly, I think it was a smart decision for J.T. Molnar to take the approach of a war film for this script. That's how I felt when I was watching the film. We are in a very male-centric, testosterone-fueled little zone. The language is really crass, and it feels like we're in a war film where you have danger, death, and then there's all the stages of grief in a way, but at the same time, everyone is trying to survive. You've got the people making jokes, you've got the people really angry, you've got the people pointing fingers, you've got the people who are solution-driven, and so it's just this melting pot. But they're all dudes, and it's heavy on all things human male. It really, really worked because it feels very authentic. Most journalists and a lot of other fiction writers, I think Sebastian Junger has a really good title about soldiers, and of course, one of the best, most classic and eternal treasures we have in literature is the Vietnam Soak Story collection by Tim O'Brien called The Things We Carried. What these all have in common is they discuss how in these terrible war-torn places, in war with soldiers, with all that death and danger, over time, what they all report is that every single man out there only makes it to the next day almost, because each and every one of them know at the bottom of their heart that they would die for the guy to the left and right of them, and that guy would do the same. And that's that brotherhood and camaraderie that is so strong, so strong. It's almost thicker than family blood. Brothers in arms is forever. It's eternal. And granted, we don't have enough time with these characters to really see that, but it comes through. Molnar is tapping into that soldiers at war environment for this story. It was very smart. Even though we're in some sort of distant American past, it feels fresh. It feels like we're on a battlefield with all of these young men. I, of course, love how the script stays super close to King's story. I mentioned already how we don't have anything really definitive of when we are. I think Ray Garrity mentions a couple real-life authors because his father was murdered. That is a change to the story. I'm okay with it. I think it adds greater character depth to Garrity, who in the novel was a little bit of a floating buoy there in life. He was so young. And I like that there is a direct seed of revenge blooming inside of him against the Major, which is something Stebbins has later on in the story. So I thought it was a smart move to show this side plot of Ray Garrity's father being killed by the Major. I think it completely works that the world we're living in is really undefined, because that's how King intended it. You're not supposed to be focusing on that, you're supposed to be focusing on the walkers, so it works really well. And lastly, in regards to the script, let's talk about that Hollywood ending. As you know from the novella, it ends very differently. And I'm really okay with how this ended. Peter McVries is, of course, crowned the winner, and he takes it upon himself to exact the revenge that Ray Garrity wanted. I'm gonna save my additional thoughts on that for later, but I'm really okay with that final scene. I'm okay with how it worked out, because I hate the Major too. I wanted him dead as well, in the hopes that, if possible, the Long Walk can be destroyed and dismantled. I think that's the ultimate goal. Very much like The Hunger Games, which is connected to our director, Francis Lawrence. He directed several of the Hunger Games films, which if you haven't seen them, they don't go as hard as The Long Walk does, but it's a really fun young adult dystopian sci-fi series where Katniss Everdeen is the lead heroine, and she is in this gladiator game called The Hunger Games, where rich people bet on the players and survival is how you win. It all funnels down to the battle royale, which has been in Japanese cinema and comics 10 times longer. What's different from the Hunger Games is that they're killing each other. In The Long Walk, they're being killed by an oppressive governing force. But like the Hunger Games, there is one victor. Peter McVries is our victor. I'm okay with the ending. The novella is very open-ended, if my memory serves me correct, which leads to a lot of speculation and a lot of discussion, which is great. As I think about it, I was hoping they might have done something like that, but it's okay. It's okay that it's Peter. The script was leading toward that when we learned that Peter endured such a horror-filled life, and yet there was love and kindness. However, is that negated? Is that destroyed by the actions he takes against the Major? I don't know. That's the big question mark, because in the Hunger Games, they always used to tell Katniss Everdeen, there is no winner. Yes, you may survive, and yes, you may be the winner, but you'll never win because you're going to be damaged for the rest of your life. You're never going to lead a normal life. You're going to have so much PTSD. You're just going to be completely incapacitated. There is no winning the Hunger Games. Well, is there winning The Long Walk? In King's novella, the answer is no. And in Francis Lawrence and J.T. Molnar's film, it seems like there is. So there's some things to be explored there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will round out all the things I like. There are more things, of course, and if they pop up, I will share them. But let's get to my one area of concern. Here we go. The violence. Is it gratuitous or is it authentic? I've been thinking about this and I'm 50-50, so hear me out. As most of you know, I would consider myself a very tender-hearted little unicorn girl made of cotton candy. Therefore, I am pretty selective with what I let in terms of graphic violence, horror, things of that nature. Only because I'm very sensitive to it. I think about it way too long after it happened. It impacts me harder than it does other people who maybe have more desensitization and are able to shake it off with greater ease. Unknown. But as I was watching the film, I looked away a lot, guys. A lot. After that first kill where we see the guy's face explode in front of us at very close range and like cranial skull chunks fly out, I thought that first death, as graphic and close-up as it was effective, but everything else, after a while, it did start to get a bit much for me. I also understand that we are dealing with body horror and horror, so I get that, okay. But because, as I mentioned earlier, the tone, friends, the tone is so sad and so somber. In horror, for the most part, sometimes, not always, I'm not a huge connoisseur as you know, but there's usually some levity or there's some lore to focus on, and then you'll have a graphically violent moment. And I feel like there's more in between to catch your breath or to focus on other things. This is a consistent treadmill track of people being shot in the head and in other areas. And it's so drawn out. They'll wait to shoot the gun, so you're just in this tense-filled moment. For a film technique, bravo, I felt all the things they wanted me to feel. But at the end of this film, guys, I realized I could never show this to my parents. And I realized there's a lot of people that I can never show this to. And when I left the theater, I was thinking about how in a few weeks, my Stephen King book club wants to go on a group theater trip, and I'm going to decline, because I don't want to see this movie again for a very long time because of the gratuitous violence, because the violence of these young boys having their head exploded by bullets. I don't want to see it again. I don't want to sit through another set of hours. I'm sure I could if I was forced, but I just kept looking down the whole time. It gets to be a lot. Thankfully, later on in the film, they start doing these pan-away shots where they're being shot in the background. For example, Art Baker, number 6, he'll just fall back. The same thing happens with Stebbins. They fall back and we see them shot in the background. We're not up close, which is good, so I really appreciate that there is a bit of balance. But I don't know if there's enough balance. I don't feel from my taste level there was enough balance of really gratuitous, graphic violence over and over and over again. We have a lot of boys in the walk. We have 51 representing each state in the Union. Therefore, I want to say if you could count, you would probably need both hands with all the graphically violent up-close death scenes that we have. So I'm 50-50 on this area. I think maybe it is authentic war footage that we would see in a war film. And then I'm also 50% on the fence saying, I think it's too much. I think there are areas where they could have toned it down just a bit. I feel both. A part of me would never touch it and just leave it as is and leave it as graphically horrific and harrowing as it is. Just don't touch it. And then the other side of me is like, nope, we have too many scenes. We have one too many where it's like, okay, can we stop? Can we stop with the in-our-face headshots, please? So I don't know, maybe it could be a hormonal thing, unknown, but that's the only area I really wanted to bring to your attention in terms of if you're going to share this to a non-King person, how many people can go for it? Again, this is about a desensitization to graphic violence. So I am more sensitive to it than the average bear, therefore I have a little bit of an issue with the amount we have in the film. At the same time, don't call me Patty Prude over here. I understand what this film is supposed to be about, and so I also agree maybe it's fine as is. I'm a little torn, and that's really all I have in terms of critique / let's discuss it further. Let's do a recap. Alright everyone, what I loved about the Long Walk film. Number 1, casting. It's perfect. With spotlight on Cooper Hoffman as Ray Garrity, number 47, David Johnson as Peter McVries, number 23, Garrett Waring as Stebbins, number 38, Ben Wang, my favorite Walker, Hank Olson, number 46, Tut Nyot is Arthur Baker, number 6, and lastly, Judy Greer. No longer the bridesmaid, she is now the bride in terms of talent and spotlight and power as Ray Garrity's mom. Number 2, set design and color palette. Number 3, tone. Number 4, script. And my last little area of let's discuss further / critique is the violence. Is it gratuitous or is it just authentic? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to my film reaction. I super love and appreciate you all. Coming up on the podcast? That is a good question. We have a couple constant reader interviews I am in the process of cleaning up and polishing. We've got some stellar people. I'm so excited for you guys to hear their constant reader interviews. One of them is an absolute juggernaut. He is so huge and so incredible in the King community that the questions turn to ash and scattered in the wind. That one's going to be wild. Our next book, it is a mystery. In the Stephen King Book Club, I am currently making my way through the brand new story collection, The End of the World as We Know It, which is currently being covered on the Patreon. If you visit my Patreon, patreon.com/dancewithkimc, that is dance with an S, for the small price of $2.22 per month, or I'm going to sell the entire collection, I think, for under $10. If you want to go that route, I am covering in 4-story increments my reaction to the collection. So each episode is about 30 minutes. I'm trying to circle around that timeline, and I'm going in 4-story chunks. This weekend, I'm going to record stories 5 through 8, so if you're interested and would like to read along with me, please head over to the Patreon. It is a lot of fun over there, and there is a lot more podcast content that is shorter and sweeter. Here on the Year of Underrated Stephen King, now that the school year is in session, I am most likely putting out episodes once a month, maybe bi-monthly if things are going well, and I'm very, very lucky. But I would love to have you join us on the Patreon, where there's a lot of fun stuff and a lot more unfiltered Kim C over there. It would be great to have you. If you would love to say hi, I am available on the socials with special attention to Instagram and Threads. I'm on those the most. You can also email me at underratedsk@gmail.com. Thank you guys so very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the film as much as I did. Take care. And I will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.